Hello there internet world and welcome to yet another video review. This time I'm going to talk about the game requested by Escordian, Dark Castle for the CDI, a port of the original Apple Macintosh game that was released in 1986. A pretty good platform game at the time, noted for its high resolution graphics and high quality sound. Thank you Escordian for making this request. I'd be happy to show you what this version is like, even though it's going to cost me some sanity. Let me just state this from the start. This game is broken. They screwed up the CDI port, which is a common trend. Let's start off in the menu, since we're there now anyway. For some reason there was only enough space on the CD for 2 difficulty settings, opposed to the 3 on the original version that came on a diskette. We only have beginner and advanced difficulty settings. You also have a help option. The first time you better use this, since this is the game's manual. Yeah, that's right, there's no actual manual with this game. Also a pretty common trend on the CDI. Who needs a separate manual if you got interactivity to cover it? Well, what about if you want to look up how to do something without quitting your current game? Ever thought about that? Who thought this would be a good idea? I really like it when games have in-game help too, but not only. I had to quit the game to go in there and figure out how the hell I was supposed to duck. The premise of the game is that the Black Knight is somehow being an ass and is terrifying the whole city. Our hero either got really drunk or knows he's about to die soon anyway, since he gets the stupid idea of taking it upon himself to go save the day and defeat the Black Knight in his dark castle. So he takes his trusty bag of rocks and heads off. Rocks. Seriously, who'd go on such a mission with only rocks? But luckily the Black Knight sees this stupidity and is a generous fellow who likes a fair fight. So he sets up his castle so our hero has a better chance against his awesome presence. So he had a shield for protection in a tower and he instructed his magician to teach our hero how to turn rocks into fireballs. The Black Knight is also a jackass, since he instructs everything else in the castle to murder that hero. In the Great Hall you get to choose where you go. The right leads to the shield levels, the middle goes to the Black Knight, and the 2 doors on the left either lead to the fireball levels or the trouble levels. I suggest you go to the fireball levels first, since then you can reset if you get the trouble instead. The trouble levels are pointless. It only holds a key at the end to get out into the Great Hall again. You also get thrown into trouble 3 whenever you fall into a pit on any of the other levels. After choosing your path you get to the actual platforming segments. People who are familiar with other ports of this game might notice something right away about the screen. They blew everything up and gave you a tiny bit of the whole room to work with. This is already my biggest complaint about this game. Here's a comparison shot of the original. Now look at our version again. Your overview is totally screwed up. If there is a bed sitting on the ceiling out of view, you just have to memorize where it is and whenever you come into that room. Same goes for these moving platforms or enemies that are down the stairs. I'm guessing this is done to limit the amount of sprites on the screen, although I'm not really sure on this. I do know that the CDI isn't that great with sprites, so that might be it. But apart from just breaking the game in my opinion, it also doesn't help the graphics at all. The original graphics were not meant to be blown up like this. I do like the way it's colored though, for the most part, but it still looks nasty. They tried to preserve the sounds too, or you could just say they were too damn lazy to make new ones. The sounds were great on the Macintosh, but those were 5 years old when this was made. Here they just sound weird to me, but it does give some comical value. Too bad you'll be too frustrated to really notice. Some sounds are just annoying though, like these guys. What's with them? Shut up, please! After hearing these for a while you seriously want to hang yourself. The original levels were hard enough as they were, but now, with so much of the room off the screen, it's really hard to plan ahead. The controls don't help much neither, although to be honest, I wouldn't really know how to improve them, except for maybe using the 1+2 button, but since this is such an early title, I can really forgive it for not using that. It's not easy mapping this to this. At first you can't aim. You have to first hit button 1 and waste a rock before you can move Duncan's aiming arm with the up and down arrow. Button 1 is always the fire button. Button 2 is the jump button. Depending on what direction is pressed, you jump in different heights and distances. Pressing up +2 makes you duck, which doesn't really make any sense. Using up and down during jumps and ducks screws up your aiming arm most of the time, which is really annoying since it moves slow enough as it is. Most items like rocks and elixirs are picked up automatically, but for some others you need to push button 2 to interact with them. Since that is also the jump button, that can be kind of annoying sometimes if you're too hasty. In some spots you need to be pretty exact, like here with the bucket of water that can knock out a fire-breathing dragon. Yeah, just go with it. Overall the game plays very slowly. Maybe they did this to make it easier, or maybe it's because limitations in the hardware, but it makes for a very choppy and annoying experience. Even more so since your hero is a klutz and gets dizzy for about 4 seconds from tripping over one frigging step. Most of the time dizziness means death anyway. When you went through all of your lives, and don't worry, this doesn't take too long, you get to enter your name into the scores list. Nice, you'd think. However, they seriously screwed this one up, because after that it asks you if you want to save the game. You can later play again and continue. You only get 2 lives when you continue though, but start at the room you last died in with the same amount of points. You don't lose your score. What the hell were they thinking? What's the point of a score list? Heck, why not just give us infinite lives? Yeah, that would cut down on loading the menu every time, thank you. So after a while, your score list looks like this. Wow, think I'm stuck somewhere? After having said all those bad things about this game, I do feel I want to give the makers some credit. This game was made in 1991 and although it's not much fun to play since it moves so slow and it's really hard since you don't have overview of the entire room, mixed with very complex controls at times, it is still playable. You do get better over time, although I haven't really managed to beat this game yet. For me it's just too hard. But since it was released in 1991, that means this is one of the very first actual games for the system. And it was pretty brave of them to pick this project up. It must have been really hard to make it for a system that was not meant for a gaming system. And putting it into that perspective, I'd say it's quite an achievement. They had nothing to really go on as far as examples of games went. So I'd say they were kind of the pioneers of game developers for the system. But that doesn't take away from my opinion that it's still not enjoyable. If you want to check out Dark Castle, then find it for another system. This is not the best port of this game. If you do want to find it for the CDI, you can probably find it for $1 to $5 since it was such an early game, so it's pretty common. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you have a request for the CDI or any other system, then let me know. I'd be happy to fill any review requests. Everyone take care and until next time, goodbye!